It is 7:43 here on this Friday morning wake-up call. Now time for Friday with the Fuzz. I'll toss it on over to Mr. Michael Greene.
Party over there. Hey, thanks, Derek. We're just looking at all the
It is a party.
wires and
Wire
cords
party.
and things. Welcome. Thank you. Yes, we have with us in the studio Elgin's Chief of Police, Jeff Swoboda. Welcome, Jeff. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
We busy week.
Busy week.
Some days, you know, we like doing our little pre-show. You're like, "What do you got?" No, I don't have anything. I hope you brought something, which is why some days I really love when you bring guests.
Yes.
But we had a few things go on this week. It's getting to be a little bit warmer out. We're going to talk a little bit about car burglaries, and you guys have an initiative. But to lead, I think that there was a death investigation that you guys are currently investigating. There's a death, right, that you're investigating. This happened, early Saturday morning, probably outside of Friday night. Where was it even?
Saturday morning, actually, right along the river.
Okay.
And so yeah, early Saturday morning, and we were sent over there. There were some witnesses that had called in, or witnesses, people that saw someone down on the ground and called us in. We went over and found a subject that had died of gunshot wound. So we started an investigation that night. Obviously, or it's actually that morning. And detectives are continuing to work it, and our detectives are working it along with our, pretty much everyone works together on a big case like this. So our unit for special assignment, our gang unit, everybody kind of chips in and does what they can. So technical investigations unit, everybody's helping out. So we don't really have much news or anything to release right now. We've put it out, asked if anybody else has anything or any information for us. There's many ways that they can contact us, and we'll hopefully be having some news to release at some point here in the future, but not a whole lot right now.
I have a little information which came from your press release. It was a 20-year-old man, Daniel Figueroa of Elgin. Evidently his family's already been contacted, but that might help. And then if anybody knows anything about the young man, it was right over, like you said, just west of Festival Park on the bike trail, and it was like 2:50 in the morning, I think, was when the first call came in the dispatch.
Yeah, right around that time sounds right. It was right off the side of that. There's some steps and things along the river, so it was, that was the location of it.
And people that were, so the first release I found was that there was people that were knocking like on the window, and my first thought was this somebody that was involved in it and had just escalated past what they had anticipated happening, but is that not the case then, right?
We don't know exactly, other than the person, right, I know what you're saying, because that's what, there were some questions with that originally. But yeah, there were some people, because the businesses are closed, so they found a business that still had some people in there cleaning up, so that was the knocking on the windows and basically just trying to get somebody's attention to call the police.
And not necessarily involved, they just kind of came across.
Yeah, and that's what we're still working on. Anybody that found anything, or anybody that has any information, we still continue to talk to as best we can and reach out with, and still also talking with. And at that time of night in Elgin along the river, there's groups that are and sometimes that group is very transient, and people trying to locate other people who may know somebody or know something, and so it's obviously not a highly traveled location at that time of the morning. So that's what we're still kind of working through.
There's a crime line if anybody has any information. That's 847-695-4195. Also through text at 847-411 ElginPD at the beginning, and then followed by the tip or message information. That remains anonymous, and of course you can call investigations or the main number 847-289-2700.
Million ways to get in touch with. Yeah, exactly.
There's the cityofelgin.org. Right, you go to policing. There's a way you can do it through there as well.
Through Facebook. You can inbox us just with information if you want. But yeah, the tips line is a good one if people want to remain anonymous. So, and that goes for we don't just set this up for this. It's the same one we always have available. Right. So if anybody just has any information, and we do get that somewhat regularly, we'll get people who send in just a random tip that this person's driving, they don't have a license, all the way to this person's wanted out of another state or something. So it's a great resource we have.
Couple car burglaries that have kind of made the news. It's that season again, right? I mean, it happens in the winter.
That season, but exactly.
Doesn't it seem to spike more in spring and summer when
more people out, more people driving around. A lot of times we'll find that, especially when it gets even warmer. Eventually, we hope it does get warmer. When people leave their windows down, hey, I'm just going to run into my house real quick, and then they decide, you know what, I'm tired, I'm not going out, and then their car windows down the entire night, and so then burglaries happen that way. So it's more obvious in how people will leave their cars, but then also there's more people out and about, people going for walks. It's easier, even criminals, are they feel the weather conditions. So when it's 10 below zero, putting on a jacket and gloves and going out and doing car burglaries maybe doesn't sound as appealing when it's 60, 70 degrees at night and walking around Elgin and doing burglaries. So during the summer months, generally we do see more burglaries, especially to vehicles.
So you had the one that was 800 block of Augusta Avenue. Looks like maybe the midnight shift patrolling, according to the statement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Came up, saw a car with an interior light on, rear driver's side door open, maybe rear door. Does that spark a question, like why the rear door? Not came up and wasn't his car. He was working on stealing something out of the car, not necessarily the car, but necessarily. I mean, who knows? Might have, right?
Well, I mean, sometimes people. I mean, it's not completely that it doesn't happen, but somebody will steal something from a car and then realize nobody called the police, or the car's still sitting there and they know it's unlocked, and first they just took the stereo, and then they come back and take the speakers, and then they might come back and take the tire. I mean, so that's kind of goes that whole broken windows theory, but that if you focus on the small things and address them right away. So there are cases where somebody would steal something and realize, wow, nobody called that in, that car's still there, and I know it's unlocked. They do that on that bait car. I don't know if you see on TV. Sometimes they come, they just go inside and they go through the glove box, see if they find any change or find anything, and then they run, and then they come back, wow, that car is unlocked, it's a nice car, let's go get the stereo. And so that always happens. But this one, great work by the patrol officer. A midnight shift is really part of their charge, is to go out and really work on reducing the car burglaries. So that's when a lot of them do occur. We find them on the day shift when people go out and they're going to work
the next morning or whatever,
but they're happening on the night shift. In darkness you can do a lot of things, and it's so criminals obviously come out at that time. So the midnight shift officer able to see the light going on, and just through routine patrols, and then made a fantastic case, because we know that people aren't going to just wake up, do that one burglary, and then go back to bed generally and never do it again. So hopefully reduce crimes going forward. But it was a great arrest by our midnight shift patrol officer.
The other, and you've talked about this, again with not leaving your car open, but this one where the person who had his car stolen basically said that he had left it at work with the car unlocked and the keys in it.
Oh, to the other one, the other burglary.
This one, officers then found the car. It looks like maybe about a week later, and called for a tow truck. And there comes the individual that evidently had stolen the car to get into it, and you were able to make the arrest there on that. So again, great work by your officers, right? Yeah,
and the teamwork, obviously getting all the information. The first officer's just basically taking the report. Other officers then later find the vehicle. And I think there's a little bit more to the story, but yeah, it was they're waiting on the car, and here comes the guy out that has the key, obviously has the key, so had been driving it as if it were his own, and officers were then able to make a great arrest. So the boldness of stealing a car.
I was just going to say, is that pretty common? I mean, I wouldn't think so. If you're going to steal it, get rid of it as quick as you can.
I don't even know if I'd say anything's common, because everything from people driving it over and then selling it for parts, to people getting a quick paint job or stealing some plates that are similar to the type of car.
Grand Theft Auto, you take it in and get it painted.
Can you? Exactly. There you go. And so take it in.
I know that.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
I've never played it. So
No. You automatically lose your star. You get stars for if the police are following you. You automatically lose your stars, so you get a new paint job. Really quick. 2 seconds. It's a video game.
Just like great.
So there you go. Sounds like fun.
This one, speaking of fun, I found this one to be funny. This evidently a woman called 911 from the Sam's Club gas station, and when officers arrived, or emergency medical services, I guess first, there was a couple different things going on with that, but found to have $300 of unpaid merchandise from Walmart and Sam's Club on her, and she called because she missed her bus and was looking for a ride home.
Yes.
Does that happen often, people calling 911 for a ride home?
I don't know about often, but for some strange
things,
I think.
Once in a while?
Actually, we had our communications operators in here not too long ago.
Should ask them.
And the people, you hear on TV the person who, wouldn't be served at McDonald's, or got the wrong, pizza's taking longer than a half hour.
Or something.
We have that actually. That actually is very regular that people will call us, and you can usually tell it's some type of, this person just stole $100 of mine. Okay, how did they do it? Well, I gave it to them, but well, how did you give it to them? Well, why would you give them $100? Who is this person? I don't know who it is. And as you start digging a little deeper, you know exactly what's going on.
More questions asked.
They have the gall to call the police and let us know that the drug dealer didn't give them the proper amount of drugs or the right amount of drugs. So you would be surprised at why people do call the police for what types of things. I mean, we're the ones that they're open 24 hours. You call us, we'll always have a friendly voice on the other end of the line, and so people abuse that a little bit.
Yeah. You got some events coming up over the next week or so. You have your monthly chief meeting coming up on Monday.
This Monday.
And chief meeting, you would think, right? The chief's going to be there.
Usually the chief is.
But you're not going to be there. You're blowing it off.
I'm not blowing it off.
Okay.
I'm allowing it in the capable hands of my deputy chief, and commanders will be there. So I'm actually be in Washington, D.C., working on what's has to come. Not secret. Actually, working on, maybe it's secret, I don't know, but I'm going to blow it right now if not.
Come on.
But right now, just talking about the goal of citations in lieu of physical arrest, and in what cases does that make a lot of sense. A lot of times people get arrested for minor things, and we're not talking necessarily drugs. I mean, it may go into that, but right now we're just talking about what do people get arrested for. That takes a lot of time for officers to go and be processed, and
maybe you can
the
just
time
citate instead of arrest.
Right, and if we know who the person is, and if it's only going to be a fine at the end of the day anyways, if the person wants to pay it up front. So kind of what does that look like? And so the International Association of Chiefs of Police invited, I think there's about 10 or 15 police chiefs from around the country to come in and kind of work on solving this problem. So
and they invited you?
They invited me, yeah. So I was happy to go, so I'm going there just for a night, just for leaving Monday, back Tuesday. And so I will miss the Chiefs meeting, unfortunately. It's one of my favorite meetings. I love interacting with the people that come down and talk about all the different things going on in the city.
City of Elgin private jet, or
yeah, right.
Yeah, they don't have one of those, do you?
No,
helicopters?
we don't. No, we don't have that either.
Driving the bat across country.
We're just very bare
No,
bones.
you're just flying out.
Just going over there and not even on the city dime. They're paying for the whole thing. So.
That's nice. I gotta ask those questions.
Exactly, absolutely.
You've got a neighborhood meeting that just took place, right?
Yeah. The other night I was at the Near West Neighbors Association, and Rob Hartman's the resident officer over there, and Officer Jacobucci was there, and Sergeant Santiago was there, and so it was a fantastic meeting. There was it's actually nice to see that when issues come up, this group really comes together. Near West Neighbors Association has been around for a while, and they're one of the more active neighborhood groups. And they wanted to talk about liquor sales coming to a local grocery store. So there's some great debate, pro and con, and it was just nice to see a group of residents come out and start talking about things. Then Rob was talking about the crime issues that are going on, and then also the neighbors themselves organize a nice cleanup, a neighborhood cleanup that's going to be coming up here in May. So it's a great group that works really hard to make that neighborhood better.
There was, even know if you even have a comment on this, but you were talking about like this meeting you're going to in Washington, and recently it hasn't passed the House or the Senate yet, but I think the House passed where they're looking for the state of Illinois to not arrest for like 30 grams of marijuana,
certain amount of grams
or something.
Won't be
it would just be a ticket. Is that the kind of stuff that you'll be also possibly talking about?
Possibly. That seems to already be going, and so I think a lot of that's already kind of...
Sorry, do you as a chief of police have input in that, or is that just the state lawmakers? Like,
it's them. They do reach out in the International Association of Chiefs of Police. They'll be will come out like in support of certain bills and against certain bills. So they generally will ask, because there's that one that's out there right now. There's another one that we're very active with, is the license plate readers, and there's legislation that's out there about how long we should be able to keep that data, and should we be able to keep that data? Should we use license plate readers? It's going to be coming when we start talking about unmanned aerial vehicles. That obviously the way of the future of things that are going to be coming, with just the quote unquote, as people call them, drones, and not for random patrol, but for things like emergency management, for large fires, for lost children, for instances where we had the escaped convict and officers going all over backyards looking for someone, if you could have someone hovering above. So we obviously don't have that yet, so people don't call and say, why do the police have that? We don't have that. But I mean, you just watch on TV, that stuff's coming. I was watching on QVC the other day, and you could buy a small unmanned aerial vehicle for, it was like, I think, $150. It's a small one, only probably goes 50 feet. It's like a little remote control one. But the technology is getting more and more advanced. It's becoming easy. You operate them off your smartphones, and then the price, they're just getting so cheap. So down the road, you can see a lot of this stuff now with the fighter pilots in the military. They're not even in the pilot seat; they're someplace else, maybe even in our country, flying things. So it's just technology is just going gangbusters, obviously. So
it would seem to me that as a involved in policing and being the chief of police, that things that Congress and different laws that they're going to pass, that you should have a say, not just you, but right, like all the different chiefs should have a say somehow, and that's where that comes in.
Yes and no. I mean, here's the other side of it too. As a police chief, I'm, kind of as they look at it, the professional who goes out there and enforces the law. We get the laws. I like that we do have a say and people do ask. But at the end of the day, we elect people who pass the laws that we want. And if they don't pass the laws we want, we don't elect them the next time and we vote them out. Whereas, when police chiefs go too far and say, I like this law, I don't like this law, then we start becoming more along the lines of the political. But there are some things that obviously we have to stand up for and against. That just
strongly with or against. I mean, just
absolutely.
From what you've seen in your experiences.
Absolutely. And as I see things, I vote, and as I see things, and there'll be people they're talking to me and I'll say, "Are you asking my personal opinion?" And I'll talk with people, personally about things. This is Jeff,
right.
in my opinion. But as the chief of police of Elgin, I'm hired to do a job, which is enforce the laws of Elgin.
It's got to be tough sometimes.
It does. It is. And so as the councils, probably at the most basic levels, that at the city council level, right? So they're thinking about passing things. Right now they're talking about dog ordinances and dog fines and what should we do. It's obviously a much smaller level.
Right.
But they do. What is staff recommendations? Here are the things that we see. Here's, one of the things that came up just recently was if we, licensed all dogs and cats. It was something I worked on a few years ago. And so I always, in all these things, I'll have my personal opinion, like right off the bat, like, oh, wow, that's great, or oh, that would be kind of hard. But here's how we would do it. And if you choose to do it, that's what I get paid a salary for, is to make sure that happens. And so there are times, though, where you start to look at things and you're like, I wish they wouldn't do that, or I wish they would do more of this. And, obviously one that a lot of people come out on, and it's such a, don't have time to talk about now, it's such a hot issue, and we just talked about someone with gunshot wounds dying in Elgin, and guns, and how does that play, concealed carry. And so law enforcement is at the table of pretty much all those. We have the International Association of Chiefs of Police and the Illinois Chiefs of Police Association, and the legislatures will generally, but they don't always agree with them. They'll ask our recommendation, and we'll come back and say, here's what we agree, and they might do something completely different. And that's their prerogative, and so that's kind of the system of how it works. We elect people to pass the laws that we want.
And I guess in that regard, you're just like everybody else, right? Who's an employee of an organization.
Right. I have my input.
I agree with the rules of the organization, but since I'm an employee, this is what I got to do.
And it's nice when you have the input at the beginning, where you can say, here's, if we're going to go down this road, here's be a way that we can kind of accomplish a little bit of both, right? So rather than banning things completely or doing something all the way over here on every time you should do this when you arrest people, it's like, well, what do you, a lot of times, and Sean Stiglitz, city manager, I hear him say this a lot, well, what are you trying to accomplish? And so let's first start there. And if we're trying to accomplish this, okay, well, maybe that first thing you're trying to do, we don't need to do all of that. If we can try these three things, it makes it easier for staff, it makes it easier for law enforcement. And so there's a lot of those conversations that are had. And so you generally start with that. What are we trying to do? Are we trying to reduce guns? Are we trying to reduce drugs? Are we trying to less government? I mean, what are the people who are trying to get something passed? What's their goal? And then from there work on it. Because otherwise you get, and that's where I like to start as well. You get a lot of people yelling, or if I say, I come out and I'm completely against this. Well, the people are for that now. They don't like the Elgin Police Department as a whole, even, because they're for this. Like, well, no, the chief is, or the chief isn't that. And so you just got to be careful with what are the things you're going to throw your weight behind, type of thing. But kids, the law, protecting the elderly, drug abuse, all those things. Those are no-brainers, right? Those are the things that how do you accomplish them, and how far do you go? Technology. We've talked about it a lot with technology. Most people say, I want safety. If there's somebody out there who's committing crimes, man, we need to get that person off the street as quick as possible. But then, okay, how far do we go? Do we want cameras on every intersection? Do we want cameras on every squad car? Do we want cameras on? And then, whoa, hey, hold on a second. Hold on. Well, that would make us more safe in some ways, but what are your personal liberties that people? So that is a balance that you see all the time. That's the fight. People want safety, but at what cost? And so I think when you have reasonable people talking about things and not yelling at each other, we can generally come to some middle ground.
Interesting. One last piece. You had some breaking news for us.
He didn't show up.
He didn't show.
And it was my fault. I saw him last night, and I totally forgot to tell him to come here. But yes, on March 15th, Sergeant Gary Neal is retiring.
March 15th?
I'm sorry?
May 15th.
May 15th.
There you go.
Yes.
That's all right.
Not so much breaking news, right?
That's what
I've got to tell you guys. I've got to tell you the breaking news. May 15th, Gary Neal, longtime Elgin police officer, very popular in the community.
Great.
Yeah. Really active with the schools and has been part of Kids United. I mean, just probably not area of the police department he hasn't had an impact on. But the May 15th, he's retiring at 3 o'clock, and we are promoting Eric Echeverria. So I know one of your favorites, if not favorite. So we're very excited for Gary and his opportunities now, and then also now with Eric being promoted. So it's going to be a fantastic day. So mark your calendars for May 15th at 3 o'clock at the. And we haven't even put that out in a press release yet, so I'm breaking it right here on WRMN, the place where you get it. Broken news? Breaking news. There you go.
That works. Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations to Officer Echeverria, and good luck to Gary Neal on his retirement. And I'm sure that well deserved.
Yeah.
25 years.
More than 25 years.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're excited for him. So coming out, and I appreciate you guys giving us this time on Friday morning to
Fun
talk.
in Washington.
I will.
And good luck to you.
Thank you.
On your secret stuff.
I'll be here next
Leave it
Friday.
there. All right. Thank you, Chief of Police, Jeff Swoboda. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You're listening to AM 1410 WRMN
And Elgin.